We're live, as always. Alright. You know, everyone needs a minute to get here anyway, so let me just finish setting up while we wait for all these fucking bitches. There we go. Pussy. Yep. Also, hiya. Yep. Hiya indeed. Alright. Let me just get the page ready real quick. Do the quote, get the duster. Okay, first let me go grab the duster. It's in the kitchen. Shit. I'll play that clip in a minute. I just saw that come in, Spider. I'll play that in a minute. Fuck. I am the Lorax. Get down on your knees. If you give it a blow, I'll make you say please. I don't know. Funny. Alright, yeah, it's already up. Also Discord. Okay, I'll play that, then I'll get to yapping. Also, I think this movie's good, but also kind of dumb. You'll find out my opinion in due time. Alright.
Alright, let's get into it. Let's see what this is. Nick. Well, that's a perfect example why we don't go to
the Reddit. They done got Chris's ass. I was wondering when Reddit would get. Not even Reddit specifically. They done made Chris look like a racist. Nick Gurr. Funny. Okay, How Bad Can I Be is a great song, but I question why his transformation happens so fast. Same here. Alright, yeah. Also, yeah, it's painfully obvious what movie we are talking about tonight. So I'm not even going to try and, like, dance around or give some long-winded... There we go. It's already painfully obvious what movie we're talking about tonight. So I'm not even going to try and dance around it or give some long-winded introduction that recaps like 50 straight years of my life. Okay, what? Onceler is dripping. Yes. Here, yes. Okay. Anyway, it's all, yeah. Oh, damn it, my ass. Alright. But yeah, it's already, you know, painfully obvious what we're talking about. Snuck you, yep. So let's just get into it. By the way, welcome to Wonder After Dark. How could I forget? The Lorax, also known as Dr. Seuss's The Lorax, The Jungle Book, 1994. Yes, that exists. Anyway, The Lorax, also known as Dr. Seuss. It's so hard to find. Okay, I believe you. Anyway, also known as Dr. Seuss's The Lorax, but stay tuned, yep, is a 2012 American animated musical comedy fantasy film produced by Universal Pictures and Illumination Entertainment. You know that Illumination? Banana? That Illumination. Anyway, and of course distributed by Universal. Although I don't really know why you feel the need to clarify that, because Universal has historically put out all the Illumination films. And they literally own the studios. Anyway, the film is the second screen adaptation of Dr. Seuss's 1971 children's book, The Lorax, following the 1972 animated television special. You mean like at Universal Studios? Chicking. What I would do to get another movie of that same thing. What I would do to get an Elon Musk movie that is as good as The Cat in the Hat. Because Mike Myers as Elon Musk on SNL is satisfying my itch for more Cat in the Hat. Anyway, directed by Chris Renaud, I think that's how you say that. Co-directed by Kyle Balda. Elon Musk as the Cat in the Hat, I wish. Anyway. Produced by Chris Meledandri and Janet Healy. Janet. And written by the writing team of Cinco Paul and Ken Darrow, who also served as executive producers alongside Dr. Seuss's widow, Audrey Geisel, aka Quit Having Fun. His Cupcakeinator has X in his name. Yep. Alright, what does it say? It's weird how animation makes more sense for a Dr. Seuss film, yet the animated films are just compared to the lot. Agree. Just agree. Especially when I feel like this one had everything working in its power. Anyway, the film stars the voice. Also, the slow would be called X-slow. It would. Anyway. The film by the way, I think somebody needs to tell or Exit. Yep. By the way, I think somebody needs to tell Grimes to come get her pet sperm. Because that pet sperm's getting brainwashed. Anyway, it's not even a child at that point. It's just sperm. It's just the amalgamation of sperm, cum, and dick. Anyway. What else? Oh. Super hydraulic instantaneous transporter. Oh, you mean... oh, quick to the slow. Anyway. The film stars the voices of... I swear, this show always loops back around to either my deteriorating mental health or the Cat in the Hat. Which, ironically, deteriorating mental health also could be a description of the Cat in the Hat. Anyway. The film stars the voices of... Colorblind. Yep, there it is. Oh, whoops. Anyway, the film stars the voices of Danny DeVito, Ed Helms, Zac Efron, Taylor Swift, Rob Riggle, Jenny Slate, and Betty White. You know, Betty White. Dead woman Betty White. Yes, that Betty White. Rest in piss. Anyway. As I said, it was produced by Universal and Illumination, and as I said, it was distributed by Universal. It premiered February 19th, 2012 at Universal Studios. Chicking. Zac Efron voices a 10-year-old but sounds like a 20-year-old. Gravity Falls. Stay tuned. We need a great Dr. Seuss film again. Agree. Also, don't rest in piss, Betty White, asshole. Okay, sorry. I just don't know much about Betty White. Truthfully, I wasn't trying to sound disrespectful. But then again, this is Wonder After Dark, the show where I make myself look awful all the time. Betty White sexy. Okay, anyway. I don't know whether to group you under cougar or some other type of creep, but anyway. The film then released everywhere, March 2nd, 2012. Anyway. At a budget of just $70 million and made $351.4 million. I don't even need to say that. That's a bit... Hey, at least unlike Drake, I like them old. Well, I mean, that is a fair point. Although I don't know how many older women would see you and think, that's a trustworthy person. I'm going to let that thing's peener inside me. Hey, Sylv, I heard you like 'em old. Anyway. Hey, at least unlike Sylv, I like 'em unborn. Go kill yourself. Anyway. But yeah, do I even need to say that that was a big success? I don't need to. Also, I'm just deliberately ignoring the unborn joke. Anyway. Okay, no, shut up. Anyway. The film built... What's the name of the Joker's guy? If you mean Joe, Joe. If you mean Murr, Murr. Y'all are dirty mind. You are too. You're not any better. Anyway, the film builds upon the book by I'm making a dead baby. Yeah, I know. Hey Murr, I heard you like him young. Anyway, when I tell you Impractical Jokers is so over after this season, there's no way they can easily just recast. That show is dying after this season, but anyway. Or next season, it's just going to be 4 completely new people. But anyway. The film builds on the book by expanding the story of the Lorax and Ted, the previously unnamed boy who visits the Onceler. The idea for the film was initiated by Geisel, who... Or the rest will be cancelled. Whichever comes first. Anyway. Was initiated by Geisel, who had an established partnership with Meledandri from the collaboration on Horton Hears a Who, aka the least memorable Dr. Seuss movie ever released. Seriously, I could try. I'll be back, Nika. Okay. Well, I guess while we wait for you, I'll just briefly diverge into Horton. But yeah, I could try and tell you about Horton Hears a Who, but I just can't. Like, there's just nothing of note about Horton. Nothing of note. I mean, is Horton Hears a Who a bad movie? No, but I think out of all the theatrical Dr. Seuss movies, it's definitely the least memorable of the bunch. Alright, now I'm going to read this before you scream at me, because I did see it out of the corner of my eye. Sal. Alright, now go ask her out to the prom, Murr. So, y'all want to go to prom with the substance? Yeah. You know, I will say, I think out of the 2 remaining Impractical Jokers, I think Sal is the least likely to get canceled, because if you know the show, he gets so uncomfortable at everything. He doesn't like yelling at people. He doesn't like touching people. He is a massive germaphobe. He's afraid of everything. If anyone seems likely to sexually assault women or people in general, it's not him. Now, I'm going to say that, and then I'm going to wake up tomorrow and... Yeah. But still. It's my luck that I'll say what I just said, and then the next morning I get proven hilariously wrong, because my life is an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And every day is the title card punchlines. So while we wait for Sylv to get back, a nice day for it, isn't it? We can say that Murr is tonight's big loser. Exactly. Murr is tonight's big loser. I also feel like I'm tonight's big loser because I feel like I'm being gaslit. Anyway, not by you, just in general. I see you. I see you. Went up from 15 to 16. I see you. Stay tuned. Okay, just... I would keep reading about the movie, but I'm a big peen. Yes, you are. Niggers. Okay. Just waiting for Shithead to get back. If he takes any longer, I'm just going to keep reading. I mean, we're only 15 minutes in, so we haven't really wasted a lot of time, thankfully. This one actually got to the topic pretty fast. Doesn't happen on this show very often anymore. Horton Hears a Who is funny. Oh, hey, welcome back. Truth be told, though, I mean, I may have to agree with you, but I also don't find it particularly memorable. Anyway, picking up from where I left off, Geisel approached Meledandri with the idea when he launched Illumination. The film was officially announced in 2000. That's valid. Okay. The film was officially announced in 2009 with the creative team attached, and by 2010, Danny DeVito, our beloved, was cast as the titular character. Jimmy Marino Kamiko. Okay. John Powell composed the score and wrote the film's songs alongside Paul. Hi, I'm Paul. Anyway, the animation was actually produced in France by the studio Illumination McGruff, the animation department of McGruff that was acquired by Illumination in 2011. I knew a girl named Kamiko once. Ponies, funny, Kamiko Glenn, stay tuned. Anyway. The film, god damn it, that's nice, yeah, I want to stop, I had to stop myself from saying that. Anyway. The film premiered globally at Universal Studios, Chiking, in Hollywood on February 19th, 2012, and released everywhere else March 2nd. Kamiko is a pretty name. I was going to make a joke there, but then my brain turned to mush, but I do agree with you, it is a pretty name. Anyway. What I was saying, the film released everywhere March 2nd of that year. Critics praised the animation, music, and voice acting, but criticized the characters and story. Elon is a pretty name, okay, no, you bitch, anyway. Okay, no, anyway. While the marketing for the film received heavy backlash for its perceived contradictions to the book's original message. Despite these criticisms, however, the film was a massive commercial success, grossing $351 million worldwide on a budget of $70 million. So yeah, I would that car commercial. Yep, the car commercial. So yeah, I would definitely say that it was a worthy investment. 0 to 50 and 4. I haven't gotten to the reception yet. Also, here's a bit of useless trivia for you all. This was the 4th feature film to be based on a book by Dr. Seuss, and was the 2nd animated film. The first animated feature was, of course, Horton Hears a Who. Now, why did they switch over to animation? Well, because Geisel was a fun-loving bitch. I'm sorry, baby. I love you. Anyway. But what about that motherfucking reception? Well, on Rotten Tomatoes, Lorax, save the environment. Also, buy this environment-polluting car. Yep. This sounds like Lego game building sounds. Anyway. Also, you hear the bricks in the dryer? Y'all, I don't know how well that's coming off on camera, but y'all hear the dryer over there? I don't know how well that's coming off on camera, but anyway. Anyway, on Rotten Tomatoes, the film has an approval rating of 54%, based on 156 reviews with an average rating of 5.9 out of 10. Say it with me now. 0 to 50 and 4. Bend over for me, Onceler. Those truffla... Damn it. Those truffla trees are for my pube to pay. Which is funny. I feel like I've already been sexually violated enough, and mentally violated, and verbally violated, and physically violated, and I feel like I need to just peel off my skin. I don't like the way my skin feels on my body. Do you like the way your skin feels on your body? You don't? Well, why don't you pull it off? Pull off your skin. Are you the Onceler? Say it with me now. No! Anyway. The consensus reads, Dr. Seuss's The Lorax is cute and funny enough, but the moral simplicity of the book gets lost within the zany Hollywood production values. Well, you basically just said the simplistic version of what I'm thinking right now. Greg. Anyway. I can't wait for the day I do that and then wake up everyone in the house. Also love how that's just becoming a running theme on this show. Coincidentally, Roderick screaming at you is about where I am mentally, in that I feel like Roderick and you are all Greg, you are me and I am you, and this is a gun. Anyway. By the way, I have the perfect analogy, but I'm going to save it until we review the Lego Movie 2. Totally random, but gun just made me think of that analogy. Anyway, on Metacritic, the film achieved a score of 46 out of 100 based on 30 critics, 0 to 50 and 4, indicating mixed or average reviews. Tomorrow, we go back to our favorite town of Plainview, except now it's a long way from Grandma's house. Am I really looking up? My mind is drawing a blank. My mind is drawing a blank. Am I... No. I know I just made myself look stupid, but I know I should know the name Plainview, but my brain is just drawing a blank right now. Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Long Haul. Okay, thank you. For some reason, Plainview wasn't kicking. For some reason, Plainview wasn't clicking with me. You know, I made the Lego game joke a minute ago. I feel like if my room was an area in a Lego game, the chair would be something you could beat up for studs. You know I'm right. Anyway. Audiences polled by Cinema Score. Also, yes, I'm that brain. Lego Megalopolis. Go back to the instructions. Anyway. Instead of interacting with the movie, it's just Adam Driver telling you what you fucked up in the... Chair falls apart, Lego breaking DS sound. Yep, exactly. Anyway. Audiences polled by Cinema Score gave the film an average grade of A on an A+ to F scale. New York Magazine film critic David Eldenstein, of NPR's All Things Considered, none of these sound real anymore, strongly objected to the film, arguing that the Hollywood animation and writing formulas last year's Lego Star Wars Advent Calendar contained a mini kit. I sadly did not have that Advent Calendar, but that is cool to know. Who knows if they'll do it again this year. Anyway. But anyway, that man of that thing strongly objected to this thing. First real mini kit is awesome. Well, now that I know that that's a thing, agree. Now, what's stopping you from including mini kits and other things in the future? Anyway, strongly objected to the film, arguing that the Hollywood animation and writing formulas washed out the spirit of the book. He wrote that this kind of animated feature was wrong for the source material, demonstrating how the book's text was used in the film in this excerpt from the review. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. And in the movie, Ted says, "Wow, what does that even mean?" And Audrey says, "I know, right?" So, one of the only lines that is from the book that does have Dr. Seuss's sublime whimsy is basically made fun of, or at least dragged down to earth. What does it say? The animated version had a better ending because it was open-ended. I believe you mean the first animated version, but otherwise, yes. The 1972 version. Anyway. The film also garnered some positive reviews from critics, such as Richard Roper, our beloved, who called it a solid piece of family entertainment. Roger Moore of the Pittsburgh Tribune called the film a feast of bright Seuss colors and wonderful Seuss design. Just say Seussian, you bitch. And supported its environmentalist message. Yippee! But what about that marketing controversy? Because that is a thing. Well, the one slur gives the kid the last seed, and it was like, if you plant it, the trees and the bears and the Lorax might come back. Not will, but might. Exactly! But I'll save my full critique of that in a minute. Anyway. Marketing controversy. Go fuck yourself. Anyway. Despite the original Lorax being made as a critique of capitalism and pollution, and I assume Mexican people as well, and Chinese people, and probably the Yakuza, Mazda used the likeness of the Lorax to likeness of the Lorax's setting and characters in an advertisement for their CX-5 SUV and blacks. Yep. This was seen by some as the complete opposite of the work's original message. In response, Stephanie Sperber, I choose you. No niggas allowed in my forest. Anyway, Stephanie, president of Universal Partnerships and Licensing, said Universal chose to partner with the Mazda CX-5 because it is a really good choice for consumers to make who may not have the luxury or the money to buy electric cars or buy hybrid. It's a way to take the better environmental choice for every... Really, though? I mean, yeah, environmentalists... I mean, yeah, electric cars don't necessarily fuck up the environment as much, but why not advertise? Exactly! My hand hurts. Also a solar car. Yeah, a solar car too. The film has also been used to sell 7th generation disposable Okay, I know that that's a correct term, but just the phrase 7th generation disposable diapers. Maybe, just maybe, an eco-friendly Yes! Also, yes, I really did just slam my fist right into the air conditioning unit. Anyway, the film has also been used to sell 7th generation disposable diapers. In total, Illumination Entertainment struck more than 70 different product integration deals for the film. including IHOP, Whole Foods, and the United States Environmental Protection Agency. Twisted Tail, 1,000 Eyes, Trapped Forever! Eepa, Eepa, Eepa! He's not Spider Pig anymore, he's Harry Plopper. An eco-friendly organization like yep. The Lorax endorses shitty diapers, yep. Illumination movies are the most corporate animated films, I swear to God. Yep, we ended up, by the way, we ended up in the goddamn worst timeline because of all the motherfucking studios they could have partnered with to make a Mario movie. You chose the most play it safe, we don't give a shit, we're just here to collect the check studio. Hot take, Mario 1993 is the better movie. You heard it here first, motherfuckers. Mario 2023 is not bad, but goddamn, it's nothing of note. Exactly, Mario was good, but not much more than, hey, it was accurate. Yeah, there's nothing of note, other than the accuracy in the voice cast, but still, there's nothing of note. So I march my way down to Carol in HR, and I knock on the door, and I say, Carol, I gotta talk to you about Pepe. Mac, and what do I find? What do I find out? Mac, there's not a single goddamn desk in that office. Mac, this place is a goddamn ghost town. Half of these people don't exist. Make fun of me for thinking Charlie Day is black. Stupid. Same reason Sonic 2 sucks. I do like Sonic 2, though, yeah. I think this might be the world record for most times I have punched something. No. This chair, the air conditioning, I think this is the most... I think in just 32 minutes, I think this is the world record for the amount of times I've abused my set. But what about home video before I blow my brains out? Well, or at the very least blow a gasket. Dirty hoe? I'm sorry, baby. I love you. You know, ironically, that quote from Cat in the Hat is honest to God my exact relationship with every last one of you. I'm not kidding. No, I'm not talking about any of you in particular. Just people in general. Me? I'm awful? How am I awful? Playing my video, inviting me on your show. Call the police, Gene. Call the police. Our gardener. Yep. But what about home video? Well, also no, sorry. I've used up a lot of my energy tonight. Okay, back to the shit. Back to cunt. Back to boobies. Back to the show. We'll be right back. And now we're back. And now we're black. And I'm black, y'all. Anyway, the film was released on... Yes. 3 for 1 special. 3 cats and yeah. For 1 dueler. Anyway, the film was released on DVD, Blu-ray, and Blu-ray 3D, you know, during the whole 3D fad, on August 7th, 2012. Yes. Anyway, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it in terms of physical releases. There's current, I don't think it's been released on 4K as of yet. And I don't see why they would need to. The Blu-ray, spoiler alert, looks fine enough. The fucking Lorax, yep. Anyway. Oh yeah, and there was the motherfucking Lorax, yep. Oh yeah, and there was also a mobile game. I'm just gonna read here. Black Dot, which that sounds like the sketchy company of all time. Black Dot, that goddamn fucking Lorax, I swear to God, yep. Anyway, Black Dot created a mobile puzzle game based on the film titled Truffula Shuffula, which released on February 1st, 2012 for iOS and Android. Did I play it back then? No. Is that game still on the App Store? Most definitely not. I'm gonna find that orange bushy testicle. The Lorax has come to snitch your ass to the tree gods. Yep. Anyway. Oh yeah, and of course I have a copy of the movie. Why wouldn't I? Yeah, the Blu-ray, which I ironically bought 5 years after the fact. Yeah. Bonus features include Expedition of... Fuck the Lorax. Fuck you. Expedition of Truffula Valley, Get Out of Town game, O'Hare TV, BD Live, Pocket Blue, both of which I don't think are active anymore. 3 all-new mini-movies, the making of the mini-movies, deleted scene, Seuss to Screen, Onceler's Wagon, games, sing-along, and more. Remember when physical releases of movies were that loaded? I sure do. Also, I'm gonna read this before you scream at me. He took my fucking wife, yep. Anyway, Blu-ray disc, DVD, clear, clear, clear. I believe I've made myself crystal clear. I should be institutionalized. Okay, so now I can get to the review. Remember when physical releases had games? Yes, I do. Now let's get to my review of the movie. And I'm a little impressed. We're only 36 minutes into this, and we're already getting to the review. I cannot think of the last time that has ever happened. Anyway, I have thoughts on this movie. I have thoughts. This movie confuses me, yeah. Look up Dr. Seuss book 1931 exactly. Why do I feel like it's going to be something horrifically racist? This is going to be Space Movie 1992 all over again. Alright, Dr. Seuss book 1931. Okay, I'm just bracing myself for the outcome. Anyway, reading before you scream at me. Alright, there is one great... Alright, this movie confuses me. There is one great scene in it. There is a lot to like, but this film has nothing notable except for one. Do tell. Read me, okay. Heh, boner. Semen? Penis? Boner! Everybody knows you can't eat butts without blowing the penis. Okay, so the let it grow scene, do tell. It's the only part that really feels like it's trying to be like the book. Yeah, agree. Anyway, I guess I'll use what you just said as a transition or segue, perhaps, into what I was going to say. Oh, the message is powerful in that scene. Agree. The Pocket Full of Boners book will be public domain in 2 years. And weirdly enough, I don't think it's a horror movie that's going to come out of that. I think it's going to be a porno. Anyway, back to the Lorax. I got a pocket full of boners, yep. Anyway, fucking, yes. You ever just want to bury someone in a ditch? Anyway, but what I was going to say. But I guess I'll say what I do like about the Lorax, followed by what I don't. The animation. While, yeah, it does still have that kind of I got a pocket full of sunshine, yep. Anyway, alright, anyway, what I was going to say. While the animation definitely still kind of has that kind of corporate illumination look, it also, you know, I have a show for you to review, okay, but let me finish my thought, and then I'll get to that. But anyway, while it definitely still has that kind of corporate, wobulous world of Dr. Seuss, if I can find it, I'll do it. If I can find it, I'll do it. But anyway, what I was kill yourself. Anyway, what I was going to say. But, yes. 3-for-1 special. Anyway, but what I was going to say. But, while it does still kind of have that illumination look to it, it also, you know, at the same time, I feel, it is very Seuss. Like, visually speaking, it has the right Dr. Seuss look. It doesn't feel like an imitation. It doesn't feel like this or that. It just looks, animation-wise, can you feel life moving through your mind? Looks like it came back for more. Yeah, can you? I'm not even gonna. Yeah, but, yeah. You can hardly swallow your fears and pain when you can't. Yeah. Anyway, but the God damn it. Okay, but the film. What I was trying. Live and learn, hanging on the edge of tomorrow. Yep. Okay, but what I was trying to fucking say, but by the way, Live and Learn is a banger, but what I was trying to say, perhaps. But yeah, another positive, the music. The songs are all really good. My head hurts. But yeah, the voice cast, I like them. Let It Grow is the... Yeah, that. I think Let It Grow is the strongest song in the entire film. So what about the negatives? Well, oh, actually, I will say, I do think as well, another positive is I do think that it is the most coherent attempt to stretch out a Dr. Seuss book to feature length. Like, the story still makes sense in the longer format. But ironically, I think that's also one of its biggest negatives. Because they had to stretch out this book to feature length, they really had to divert themselves from the source material quite a bit. Which, I mean, yeah, for Dr. Seuss movies is nothing out of the ordinary. But this one really feels like it. For sure. For sure. And another negative, the Onceler. Now, the Onceler, in the original book and the 1972 television special, is deliberately kept, not masked, but concealed. You never see his face other than, like, his eyes. Because it was an intentional, stylistic, and narrative choice to show that really anybody could fill in the role of the Onceler. Anyone. You could, your brother could, your sister could, your mom, your dad, your uncle, your aunt, your niece, your nephew, your fucking goldfish for all I care. Anyone on Earth, your stepmom could. Exactly, except I think even the Onceler has your gardener. Yep, him too. But yeah, anyone could be the Onceler. The movie, however, abandons that and gives the Onceler an actual face. I mean, I kind of get why they did it. I kind of do. But on the other hand, it kind of takes away some of the story. The problem is that the movie shows that the Lorax returns without any mystery. Well, yeah, that's the short version. That's the short version, but that is a problem. Anyway, but but I will say though, the Onceler character is still well written. I will admit that. Like, maybe not enough to where I can say he's like a perfect pause. Talk about the original ending like you said you were going to. Give me a second, in the middle of a thought. But yeah, like it by giving the Onceler a face, it kind of takes away the nature of like it can happen to anyone. But I think this movie's biggest problem, because I said it was criticized for, deviating from the source material. My biggest criticism has nothing to do with the added characters or giving the Onceler a face or anything like that. My biggest criticism is two areas: the tone of the film and the ending. Now, yes, the Lorax is meant to be a hopeful story. Yes. But it's also supposed to be kind of a bleak story. It's supposed to be kind of a sad story as well. You need the bleak, depressing... Give me edgy Lorax, yeah, pretty much. You need the kind of sadder depressor... I love Tesla! You need that kind of sad, depressing nature to balance out. It's supposed to be hopeful, but still maybe. Exactly. It's hopeful, but it's still not a definitive yes or no. It's maybe. It could happen, it could not. The movie, again, kind of spits in the face of that, opting instead... Bittersweet is the... Well, yeah, bittersweet. Think the ending to Revenge of the Sith where... Yeah, that... where Owen... Yeah, that's a perfect example. That's actually a beautiful example. Depressing is all get out. Bittersweet is all get out. But beautiful. But yeah, it's meant to be a bittersweet story. The movie, however, spits in the face of that, and not only takes away any mystery that otherwise would have been there, but also instead opts to just make it a more lighthearted, fun adventure. Which, I mean, on the one hand, I don't hate that. This is Illumination we're talking about, and I guess they thought kids might have been bored, but... I don't know, like... I'm sure you get what I'm trying to convey. Like, I just think tonally it's way off. But the biggest problem... Oh, read. Okay. Think the ending to Revenge of the Sith where Owen and or Beru... Anyway, where they look at the sun while holding baby Luke. Yes. I already read that, but yes. Unless there was something else you said that YouTube didn't like. But anyway, yeah. But... Oh. C.S. Lewis, writer of the Narnia novels, once said a children's story written only for children is not a good children's story. Exactly! And you know what? I know I should probably save what I'm about to say until we get to Lego Movie 2, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it. the Lego movie, just using this as an example, the Lego movie is a great movie because it was not written exclusively for children. Yeah, it's still, a family film, but they didn't write it with the sole intention of making kids laugh. Lego Movie 2 feels like it was more explicitly directed towards children. By a lot. Hi, Onceler, I'm back, and I hate knit rolls credits, yep. But yeah, that is a great example. Back to the Lorax, but how it should have ended, the Lorax, yep. Hey fam, oh no. Actually, how it should have ended, stay tuned. Ah, it burns, it burns, it burns. Frank Reynolds, yep, anyway. Also, hey Bill, oh god, anyway. But what I was saying, oh yeah, we're talking about the Lorax, but anyway, and I'm not going to repeat myself, so I'm just going to pick up from where I left off. But anyway, what I was saying, yeah, the movie just kind of spits in the face of that. The oh god heard around the world. Yep, pretty much. Anyway, but what really gets me about the Lorax movie the most, is, as I said, oh, sorry I was late, got lost in playing Avowed? I don't know what that is, but anyway. I don't know what any of these games are anymore, but anyway, what I was saying, but cock. But anyway, yeah. But the Lorax, God damn it, okay. But what bothers me the most is the original story, and I've reiterated this in the tone. Well, yeah, the tone. But what really bothers me the most, besides the tone, is the ending. The end of the movie. It's meant, the ending is open-ended. I forget exactly how the quote goes, but, nothing's going to get better unless you or somebody does something about it. But they never show the outcome. Things may get better, they may not. Ironically, a lesson we've learned on this show quite a bit. And that we will continue to learn until it finally fucking gets better. But yeah. But the movie, again, goes this far in the opposite direction. I remember the trees and the bears and remember the trees and the bears and our gardener might get better. Exactly, might. So what you are saying is there was no climate. Let's get back to the movie. But that is a good example, though. That is a great example. It's actually, it's an amazing example. But because this is a comedy show, I do have to add an ounce of comedy on top of that. Or he could wake up in a cardboard box outside of 7-Eleven. This just in, Tom Cruise is dead. Anyway, back to the movie. But the movie goes this far in the opposite direction, instead showing, all the trees growing back and everything coming back, and to add insult to injury. Sounds like a total Blues Balls movie. This just in, the Lorax is dead, yeah. But to add insult to injury and to really just pour cum in the womb, the Lorax returns. Somehow, the Lorax returned. And, okay, this just in, our gardener is dead. I wouldn't doubt it. But anyway, okay, this is another case where I kind of get why they did that as the ending. I kind of get it. But on the other hand, it kind of dilutes and devalues the message of the original story. Like a lot. Because the message was not that the Lorax will return or might come back. This just in, your sister is dead. Wandered into traffic. Sorry, by the way. Yeah, but still, though. Funny. Blind joke. Yes. Anyway. Fuck. Cunt. Anyway. But what I was saying. But the message was not that if you plant all the trees back, the Lorax will return. It wasn't a fucking Marvel movie. The Avengers will return. No. The message was that the Lorax might return to reflect real life. Things might get better, and they might not. The Lorax will return, yet, but this movie just horribly misunderstands that. I mean, I guess it's kind of cute to see the Lorax and the Onceler have their little reunion. I will admit, that is cute, but in the context of the narrative, it just feels like a slap in the face. The Lorax will return in Dr. Seuss Infinity War, yep. But you get where I'm coming from. I'm sure you get exactly where I'm coming from. Just in the context of the narrative, it just feels maybe not distasteful. Maybe that's not the right word, but you get where I do get it. Yeah. Like it ruins it. Yes, that's basically what I'm trying to say. Like, I think if the movie, like, okay. And the thing is, this could easily be fixed by just trimming. Oh, the more I think about it, the more the movie is Yep, exactly. Character development, part 2. Anyway. Okay, but what I was saying. But also, there is something I do want to bring. Part 2. Anyway, there is something actually that I did just think about, but I'll save it till after the show. It's nothing bad, just something I forgot to say a minute ago, but I'm too balls deep. Anyway, but what I was saying, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is the Lorax is not a bad movie at all. I just feel like it's a really big misunderstanding of the source material. It's like everything's almost there as it is, but there's so much holding it back. Not just the ending, but just everything surrounding. 6 out of 10, but only for Let It Grow. Otherwise, it would be a 4. Yeah. Anyway, what I was going to say. I will say, though, or what I was going to say before I forgot. You could easily fix the problem with the film's ending like, literally, all the problems with the film's ending could be fixed by just trimming... Lil Bill, where are you? Okay. All the problems with the film's ending, I think, could be fixed by just cutting off a few seconds. Okay? Oh, real quick, time for the funny image. I already have it on standby. Cut the end. Hang on. Funny image. Stoned Monk. Yep. Dewey. Stay tuned. Anyway, but what I was going to say. But for real, the problems with the film's ending could easily be fixed by just cutting off a few seconds of the runtime. That's me, yep, the Jungle Book, stay tuned. That's not from the Jungle Book. Anyway, how would I fix the ending? Simple. You know the shot of the tree growing? Just cut it off there. There would be the perfect spot to cut it. Sure, it would still have that kind of, does come back, not might, but still. Yes, please. Yeah, literally, that right there would have been a perfectly acceptable spot to cut it off. And plus, it still would have told a pretty good message, I'll admit, Granted, it still wouldn't have been the right message, but it still would have told a message. If you cut it off with the tree growing, the moral would have been, things will get better someday. Maybe not things might, but still, it would have at least worked. But instead, yeah, no, just ruin the ambiguity, yeah. Regardless, though, I don't think it's the worst movie ever. It's certainly not the best, by far. I have a question. Go ahead. Got something on the lip here. How are your eyes? Stop. What species is a thorax? Okay, first off, Lorax. Second, I don't know. Third, I find it really damn concerning that you do not seem to be aware of Dr. Seuss. I find it really damn concerning. I wasn't trying to sound rude when I say that, just still. Anyway, but yeah. But it's not like the worst movie I've ever seen by far. No, I have a Doctor. Anyway, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but it's also not the best. I don't know. I'm sure you get where I'm coming from. But I guess to conclude my review of The Lorax, I guess it is a good movie, in all honesty, but I see, said the blind man. Okay, hang on. An orange testicle. Now I have a different doctor. I see, said the blind man. Okay, anyway. Is it a weasel? Okay, whatever. Anyway, what I was trying to say. But I guess to conclude my review of the film, it's not the worst that I've ever seen, but it's also not the best by far. I guess it just goes to show a monkey. Okay, monkey moment. Monkeys are funny. Chimpanzees are way too chill about childbirth, but anyway, a seal? I don't know. Anyway, but hang on. But yeah. I guess the point I'm trying to make is, like, you can make a good Dr. Seuss movie, but I don't think this is one of them. It may look very pretty, visually speaking. It may have some great music, but it ain't much better than, like, a dog. Okay, now you're just spamming animals. Bitch. Okay. Donkey. Okay, seriously. Now you're just spamming animals. But yeah, anyway. A horse? Yep. Oh, Jesus. A lemur? That's spelled wrong. I mean, it's only one letter off, but still. Oh, anyway. A penis? Yep. Haha, funny. Okay, anyway, I'm probably gonna give the Lorax a... Oh, let me think. A gardener? Okay, haha, funny. Okay, I'm probably gonna... Yeah, 6 out of 10. Okay, I'm probably gonna give it, like... Honestly, probably 6 out of 10. I was gonna say 5.5, most likely a peen, an ancient one. Okay, I get it. I get it. Anyway, I'm just gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Yeah. I don't know. Well, one movie down, millions, maybe even billions to go. For however long this show ends up running for. Well, anyway, now that we just talked about kind of an unnecessary adaptation, who wants to hear me talk about sequels that would you make love with it? I'm not going to comment on that. Anyway, now that we talked about kind of an unnecessary adaptation, who wants to hear about sequels that may or may not be necessary? The Lorax? Sure, anyway. The Lorax should have my babies yet. One Lorax needs loving too. Wonder After Dark. Yep. Anyway. Lorax lives matter. Yep. But anyway, what I was saying. But now I want to dedicate the truth. Yep. All right. I want to dedicate this next segment to movie sequels, specifically sequels that I think could actually be neat. You see, we live in an age now where... Okay, we live in an age now where so many movie sequels, remakes, reboot... Say this in Sonic's voice. You don't need to be gay to appreciate a man's beauty, do Lorax lay egg. Okay, seriously, I don't know. Now, please let me stay on topic, but anyway. Okay, but in this age nowadays, where movie sequels, remakes, reboots, etc. are just wholly unnecessary, I want to talk about some that I think would actually... We'll have to find out, yeah. I'll talk about a few sequels that I think would actually be neat to see. Okay. Hang on. Alright. The Lorax 2. The Lorax 2? No. Anyway. Okay, so we're going to start with Pixar. Pixar has been making a lot of... The Lorax 2? Anyway, Pixar has been... I'm a man and I appreciate it every time I look at myself in the mirror. That's based. Anyway, Pixar has been making a lot of Cars 2. Anyway, Pixar has been making a lot of unnecessary sequels as of late, with many more to follow. And I want to touch upon one that I think would be quite neat. Soul 2. Anyway, I would like to see them do Haha, funny. Anyway, I would like to see Cars... Damn it, okay. While I would like to see Pixar do Cars 4, Coco 2... Shut up, even though that is happening. Anyway, while I would like to see Pixar do Cars 4... Meow. Woof. Anyway, while I would like to see Pixar do Cars 4... It should not be about Lightning McQueen and Mater again. Finding Nemo 2? That already happened. It's called Finding Dory. Now let me finish. Shut the hell up. Let me finish. Anyway. If Pixar does make Cars 4, which they will inevitably, I think it would be a nice change of pace. Lightning story isn't over. Well, you're not wrong at all. But I think it'd be a nice change of pace if we shifted the focus over to Cruise. Because if you have... What animated character are you secretly attracted to? I'm not trying to ignore that question, but I'm also in the middle of a thought, please. Anyway, but I think it'd be a nice change of pace if a hypothetical Cars 4 shifted the focus over to Cruz. Because by the end of Cars 3, Cruz kind of filled in Lightning McQueen's spot. Like, yeah, Lightning didn't, retire at all, but now the role had kind of shifted. So now Lightning kind of fills in Doc's position, and Cruz fills in Lightning's position. Cruz and Lightning should be co-main characters. Exactly. I think Cruz should be like the main character, primary character, and Lightning should be, the mentor. Still a main character, but the mentor. That's how it should work. And of course, there should be a time jump. It shouldn't take place like one day after Cars 3. It shouldn't take place like 1 week. It should take place like a good amount of time later. Nah, Lightning should keep racing while doing. Okay, well, you're not wrong. So we have different ideas, but that's okay. Because that's what he wanted. Well, yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, I think the time skip could be interesting, but you do have a fair point. We're both right. Like, time skip has cool story potential, but Lightning always wanted to keep racing, so yeah. Anyway, but there's a sequel idea that could work. But then again, knowing Disney and Pixar, they would likely make it another Lightning and Mater-focused adventure. Passing the torch doesn't need to mean retire. Exactly. Again, fair point. Anyway, what's another sequel that I think actually should happen? That isn't necessarily, well, unnecessary. Oh, talk about how Indy 4 does an anti-passing of the torch with the Bitch, I could talk about how Indy 4 doesn't need to happen didn't need to happen all night. Like, nigga, I could talk all night. But I'd rather not. But yeah, Indy, did that. Just talk about, okay. You'll have to forgive me. It's been a hot minute since I've seen it, so I do have to look it up on Google like a dumbass. No, I've seen the movie, but I still have to look it up on the... I want to stab someone. I was really about to type Crystal of the Kingdom Skull. I'm really retarded. But yeah, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull had kind of an anti-passing of the torch moment. Which, I mean, I think that sums up Indiana Jones quite nicely, not gonna lie. Okay, okay, never mind. So his hat blows to Mutt, who attempts to put it on, but Indy basically grabs it from him on the way out. Also, Indy 4 was good, shush. Okay. But yeah. But anyway, what's a sequel that what's another sequel that I think actually would be cool if it did happen that wouldn't necessarily... Brave 2. You seem oddly interested in hearing about Brave on this show. Anyway, I would give a jokey answer like, never, but considering... Robots 2, please... No. Listen, as much as I would... Robots 2? Listen, while I would love to see another story in the Robots universe, I don't want an explicit sequel. You know why? Because Robots is a perfect, standalone, self-contained narrative. All of its loose ends are tied up. There's really nothing else. Like, Big Weld's back, the robots get their upgrades, or the new parts, like, everything's been fixed. Like, what more can you really... Well, that could work. It'd be a little corny, but it could work. But yeah, AI commentary, that could work. Ice Age 7. Funny you say that, because they're literally doing Ice Age 6 as we speak. What if Robots 2 does a reverse? The robots get replaced by humans, Highly questionable, but that's so bizarre that it could work. If it's done properly. Anyway. Humans don't exist in... Well, I mean, yeah, that's kind of the big problem. But then again, wouldn't be the first time that a sequel to an animated movie retcons something like that. Again, going back to Cars, organic birds exist in the first movie, but then in Cars 2, they're replaced with mini planes. They make humans. How? I don't know, but yeah. Wait, no. Easy fix. Oh, that's okay. Making the humans is the... Yeah, easy fix. What if they make, like, AI that look more organic? Like, they have human look. But they're not explicitly human. There we go. There's a way for it to make sense. You know, just make them look human as opposed to the explicitly robotic. There we go. Fixed it. You can have your AI commentary and your humans. Robots 2. AI will replace all your needs. Yep, pretty much. Okay. Another sequel that a lot of people have been clamoring for, and kinda got, though I wouldn't really say to the fullest, Tangled 2. Kind of a tongue twister, but yeah. Tangled 2. Robots 2. Ratchet's Revenge. Yep. The reason why I say kind of got... Oh, Meet the Robinsons 2. Somehow, Madam Gasket returned. Yep. Okay, Meet the Robinsons 2. Again, it would be nice to get, like, another thing in the Meet the Robinsons universe, but again, it's kind of a standalone narrative. Like, there's not much you can show outside of its tied up ending. Norbit 2, no. Norbit never. Okay, but what else? But yeah, Tangled 2 is a sequel that a lot of people have been clamoring for, and then sort of got FNAF 2. That's coming anyway. I say sort of got because if you remember, Tangled was followed up with the Disney Channel original movie, Before Ever After, which, although it was treated as a sequel, I really don't see it. I mean, yes, it does pick up from where the first movie allegedly ended, but one, I'm not sure how canon that movie or that show are, and two, it kind of just, it doesn't really feel like a proper sequel to me. Hang on. Okay, FNAF 2, The Room 2. Oh, bye, Mark. I can't wait to see Mortal Kombat 2 and FNAF 2 sit on my video game movie sequel tier list. Sonic 2 is already D. Spirit 2 for real this time. Yep. Anyway, but what I was saying. Tangled was already kind of followed up by a Disney Channel movie and Disney Channel series, though I'm not sure how canon those really are. And on top of that, like, I just don't, because I did review the Disney Channel movie, and I did like it well enough, but I didn't really see it as, like, the proper sequel that they so clearly act like it is. I'm just saying, Tangled should get, like, a more proper follow-up, like an actual legit sequel. That's one that many people would like, myself included. Garfield Gets Real 2. For real this time. I'm shocked that's not real. Get fake. Toy Story 5 will blow you away. Yep, and it'll make you blow your brains out. True Toy Story after the third one fashion. But yeah, that's one that I think a lot of people would like to see, is Tangled 2. But of course Disney's not going to do that. They're just going to do a live-action remake. You know I'm right. Avengers Doomsday 2. Avengers Doomsday 2, now with even more returns. And the movie just manifests in your living room. Yep. And an evil videotape. Anyway. But yeah, those are just a few movie sequels that I think are the opposite of unnecessary, that I think would actually be neat. Garfield EXE, don't. But yeah. Alright, I got time for one more segment, and then I'm going to sign off for tonight. One more segment. Questionable ports. Let me explain. So, video games, as we know... Oh, now moving on to sports. And an evil videotape that kills anyone who watches it in 7 days. By the way, look up Wobulous World. I'm surprised I haven't seen any horror thing. Okay. I'll do that, then get to what I was going to say. I'll look that up, and then I'll get to what I was going to say. Cars on the wrist gang! Yeah. I mean, on the one hand, I can kind of see why you're don't know what I was trying to say there. On the one hand, I can kind of see why you're surprised there are no horror games of this, but on the other hand, it just looks like Dr. Seuss puppets. Okay, anyway, but what I was saying. Questionable ports. So, video games, as we know, are pretty complicated to bring over to 64 bits, 32 bits, 16 bits, 8 bits, 4 bits, 2 bits, 1 bit, quarter bit, the wrist game! Okay, anyway. But video games are complicated to bring over to different systems. Most of the time, they port the game. Meaning, you know, convert it later down the line to work on different hardware. Anyway, the reason why I bring this up, if anybody asks what I think the single most re-released movie licensed game is, Cars the video game from 2006. Because let's see, alright? Oh, I should make puppets and digitize them into games. Yeah, you should. Anyway, Cars the video game is probably the single most re-released movie licensed game maybe ever. It was released on the Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo Wii, Xbox, Xbox 360, Nintendo Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS, PC, Windows specifically, PC, Mac, PlayStation 2, PlayStation Portable, yeah. Funnily enough, it did not make it to the PlayStation 3. I just think that's amusing because, oh, Angry Birds Trilogy had so many ports. Yep, I actually own Trilogy on the 3DS. But anyway, what I was going to say. But anyway, Cars has been released on a lot of systems and a lot of platforms. And is it on PS2? I just said, okay. Cars was on, I'm just going to cover it by platform. Cars was on the GameCube, Wii, DS, GBA for Nintendo, Xbox and Xbox 360 for Xbox, PS2 and PSP for PlayStation. Now, what I was going to say, funnily enough, although it released on the Xbox 360, it was not brought over to the PlayStation 3. I don't know why. I don't think an official explanation was ever given, but I do have a theory. You see, from what I've heard, the PlayStation 3 was very hard to program games for, especially early on. And Cars, being released in 2006, probably would have been pretty hard to port over to the PS3. So, If that's the case, then I guess I can see why they opted out of the PlayStation 3 port. But on the other hand, I'm like, the PS3 and the 360 were still very similar graphically. So what's to say they couldn't have just taken the 360 version and ported it to the PlayStation 3? Maybe not right away, but maybe sometime after. Either way, I do think it is interesting that it was only on one of the HD consoles, but not the other. Anyway, the other thing about Cars the video game that I think makes it both an interesting and questionable port is that while the game was largely the same on most platforms, the PSP version actually completely omitted the open world space. The Radiator Springs hub world was completely gutted from the PSP version. So it's basically just a racing game. Yes, there is still kind of a story mode, but there's no open world. Once again, I don't know why the PSP version omitted that, because other PlayStation Portable games had, open hub worlds in them, and they run just fine. In fact, Lego Batman, Lego Star Wars 2, and Lego Indiana Jones all had exactly that on the PSP, and they run just fine. So why they left it out of Cars on the PSP, I have no idea. But it's interesting. I guess it does help to differentiate it from the other versions. And of course, I also imagine... Oh. I need to go, but before I do, I am the Lorax. Get down on your knees. If you give it a blow, I'll make you say please. But will I elaborate further? Nope, because you've said enough, and I'm almost done. Oh. Also, Spider-Man 3 on PSP had an open world. It was a PS2. Exactly. So why they left off the open world for Cars on PSP, no idea. But I guess it does help differentiate it. And of course, I also imagine it was probably left off of the GBA and DS versions too, but I don't own those versions. And finally, the most interesting release of Cars is actually GTA, Vice City, Stories, and Liberty City were PSP games. Yeah, I do know that. Anyway, finally, and this is the last one I'm going to bring up, finally, the most interesting release of Cars, Steam. Yeah, I don't know what year this happened, but it must have been fairly recent. Cars was released on Steam. So if you want to play Cars on your laptop or your desktop or your Steam Deck, yep, Cars the video game. Now the reason why, yep, Cars on Nick, yep. Now the reason why I call the reason why I call Cars on TCAP, now please stop. The reason why I call Cars on Steam the most interesting release is because of this disclaimer down here. System requirements. This app only supports older operating systems such as Windows Me, 2000, XP, and Vista, and might not run on newer operating systems. Lightning, we caught you trying to riz up a young fan, yep. So, yeah, there's your disclaimer. Basically, the game might not run that well on newer... I'm sorry, she said she was 18 in miles. Yeah. But yeah, there's your disclaimer. Basically, they say the game might not work. The Steam store page basically says it might not work on newer operating systems. Is that true, though? Well, I've heard conflicting information. I've heard Chick Hicks, yep. I've heard conflicting information about that. Kachiga, yep. Some people have bought Cars on Steam and said that it runs just fine. like I said, some people have bought it on Steam and they say that it runs just fine. Others say that they've had problems with it crashing or needing to download a patch or files or something. The most common claim I've heard is that you need to replace the file for the cutscenes in order to stop the game from crashing. Either way, I don't know. I guess it just depends on your equipment. I don't know. Maybe it has less to do with the operating system and more just what you're playing it on. If you're playing it on like a fairly modern PC, it might be a little bitch. But if you're playing on something maybe a bit more dated, it might be fine. I don't know. But either way, I think it's really interesting that they even brought cars to some modern platform. Some. Although I will say, real talk, if we can get Cars the video game on Steam, I don't see why we can't get it on the PlayStation Store, Xbox Marketplace, and Switch eShop. I'm just saying, if we can get it on Steam, I don't see why the others can't. But yeah, I guess that makes Cars the video game a questionable but interesting port. And again, it is probably the single most re-released licensed movie game ever. I can't think of another game with that many versions. Now to end. Yep, now to end. But yeah, in conclusion, I learned that the Lorax is sexy. Yep, that is what we learned tonight. So I'm not even going to bother asking what did we learn tonight, because you basically just spelled the lesson out for us. Yeah. There we go. Anyway, come back tomorrow night when we go on a funny little road trip. Also, I am the Lorax. Get down on your knees. If you give it a blow, I'll make you say please. But will I elaborate further? Nope. Because I've said enough. But for now, that's all the time we have for tonight. But always remember, eat your cereal, go to bed, to be continued. God made you special and he loves you very much. If you do drugs, you go to hell before you die. Good night, and